When Portishead finally emerged from their decade-long silence with Third, the world had changed. Trip-hop, the genre they helped redefine in the 90s, was no longer the cutting edge of cool. It had either been watered down for coffeehouse playlists or absorbed into the DNA of modern pop. But instead of trying to recapture that smoky noir jazz of Dummy or the gothic grandeur of their self-titled follow-up, Portishead chose to torch their own myth. Third is not just a comeback, it's a reinvention, a work of brutal minimalism and unflinching unease. From the opening minutes of Silence, with its unsettling rhythm and abrupt, jagged edits, you know this isn't a warm comeback. The record often feels like it's conspiring against you. With the song Machine Gun hammers out its relentless electronic percussion like a military drill, with Beth Gibson's haunting voice hovers above, fragile yet resolute. On the song We Carry On, the band leans into that motoric groove that wouldn't sound out of place in a krautrock bunker. Even when they let the tension dip, as in the sort of folk, eerie meditation of deep water, the atmosphere remains uncanny, like a lullaby sung from a far end of the dark corridors. And what's remarkable is how Third resists nostalgia. It doesn't gesture back to the golden age of trip-hop. Instead, it tears into post-punk and in some industrial, experimental electronics, and just unsettling folk to create something sparkly original. Jeff Barrow's production feels like it was carved from rusted metal and dusty tape reels, every sound raw and exposed. And Gibson's, meanwhile, has never sounded more human, and her voice trembling not in weakness but in defiance. So if Dummy was the soundtrack to late night cigarettes in the rain, Third is the sound of staring into the cold fluorescent lit void. It's not an easy listen, because Portishead weren't aiming for comfort, but it's a vital one, a bold statement that proves the band could evolve rather than calcify into nostalgia. And 16 years later, Third still feels like a shock to the system, a record that reminds us that Portishead were never just about mood. They were about innovation, disruption, and pushing their own limits. And in doing so, they pushed ours as well. So if you haven't listened to this album, I know it might be tough for true Portishead fans, but give it another listen if you didn't like it. Check it out. Let me know what you think.